This is the bravest boy I've ever seen. A girl was surrounded by a group of thugs. Only he had the courage to step in and stop them. As usual, I ended up getting beaten up. And now I've grown numb to physical pain. Because my grandfather taught me since childhood. No matter what hardships you face, you must confront them bravely. Maybe it's because of my appearance. My ugly face seems to disgust people. Even my own parents and siblings treated me like I was nothing. Perhaps because my younger siblings are good looking. I never received the same care as a normal person. Or maybe my obesity just made me repulsive. Since childhood I have been bullied and have long grown used to it. The number of nicknames they gave me is endless. In order to survive in this world, my grandfather was the only one who ever truly loved me. But fate played a cruel joke on me. It took away the only pillar of support I had. Before he passed away, my grandfather left me a house. But my parents tried every possible way to take it from me. However, since my grandfather left a will, they eventually gave up on claiming the house. Instead, they completely abandoned me. And so I lived alone in this dark house, working part-time to survive. At the graduation ceremony, everyone was happily exchanging words. But I knew this was the safest moment. I quickly ran out of school. Yet the group of thugs chased after me like homing missiles. One kick sent me to the ground. Then they began to intimidate me. Even if you've graduated middle school, my punching bag will never graduate. Bullying me had become part of their daily routine. No matter how much I begged them to stop, they still beat me. My younger siblings stood there watching, as if I had nothing to do with them. Like always, after getting beaten up I still had to work. But since I was always late due to these beatings, my manager fired me without hesitation. Back home I survived on instant noodles. After another terrible day, I stared at myself in the mirror, and I couldn't hold back my emotions anymore. Why is my life so miserable? Will I have to live like this forever? Just when I had completely lost hope in life, I accidentally stumbled into my grandfather's secret base. Before he passed, my grandfather traveled the world. Every time he brought back rare and mysterious treasures. I had no idea what any of them were for. As I looked around curiously, I discovered a peculiar door. My curiosity led me to step inside. Suddenly a pop-up window appeared right in my face. It contained an introduction to the room. It was a gateway to another world. And I was the rightful owner of this place. Perhaps it was the treasure my grandfather left me before he died. Following the instructions, I tested my magic power. But reality crushed me once again. The numbers on the screen were either 1 or 0. So even in another world I was still a burden. Luckily the system provided me with 10 skill points. I decided to invest all of them into luck. Immediately I unlocked the ability to read the language of this world. I could understand everything without the need for translation. The introduction stated that, aside from me, no intruder could enter this house. This was truly convenient. I might just end up living here forever. I casually picked up a sword. It was exquisitely crafted. Another pop-up window appeared right in my face. The sword's name was All Sword. It could cut through anything in existence. I then picked up a gun. Its description said it could pierce anything and never break. Another feature was that once locked onto a target it would never miss. Then I grabbed a scythe. Its name was Death Scythe. Legend says it's a weapon capable of slaying even the Grim Reaper. Even the smallest wound from it would instantly become fatal. Next I found a pair of gloves that ignored all defenses. A bow that guaranteed a 100% hit rate. Every single weapon in here was overpowered. As I experimented with them, a pop-up told me I had learned true martial arts. But I hadn't actually learned anything. Yet the system ignored my doubts and automatically updated my skills. Now I possessed a skill that allowed me to store weapons at will. In the next second, a red demon suddenly appeared. Its magic power was a staggering 300 points. Fortunately, only I could enter this room. The red demon launched a frenzied attack. I was so terrified that I couldn't even open my eyes. As I sank into my own self-deprecation, I felt like I didn't deserve to live in this world. But this time I was determined to be brave even if it cost me my life. I gripped the spear in my hands and hurled it at the monster. The red demon was instantly slain in one strike. The spear fell to the ground on its own. A pile of mysterious loot dropped around it. Then the system displayed a message. My magic power had risen to 1000, and I could distribute it however I wanted. Just as I was about to head home exhausted, the loot automatically converted into money. A total of 15 million. Without overthinking it, I returned to my house. That evening a wild surge of energy erupted within me. I felt like I was about to die. The pain was unbearable and I blacked out until the next morning. When I woke up my whole body felt strange. Even my clothes didn't fit me anymore. Then I returned to the other world. I have to admit this system was quite considerate. It instantly provided me with a fresh set of clothes. As soon as I stepped inside, my vision became incredibly sharp. All I saw around me were strange plants. By now I was slowly getting used to this world. Every day I watered the plants and took walks. And of course monsters kept appearing on schedule. Well, I guess I'll send you straight to the afterlife. I grabbed my spear and finished it in one strike. The loot this time was a valuable fossil. A rare monster item. This should be worth a few million. From that moment on I lived in this other world, curious about everything around me. But as the start of high school approached, I finally decided to return home. For some reason as soon as I stepped in everyone's eyes were on me. I unconsciously walked to my usual seat. The bullies who once tormented me approached with annoyed expressions. "Why are you sitting in Fatty's seat?" I simply responded with my name. Their faces were filled with shock. After class 1 rushed to the restroom. I had spent the entire summer training in the other world. I never even realized how much my body had changed. Just like before, Tenjiao was surrounded again. It kept demanding to know what had happened to me. My younger siblings instead of being happy for me started throwing insults my way. At that moment a luxury car suddenly pulled up by the road. A beautiful woman stepped out of the car. To my surprise she called my name. "I love you Yamada." A luxury car suddenly stopped by the road. A stunning woman in black stockings stepped out. And she called my name directly. It turned out to be the girl I had saved before. She was actually Kaya, the daughter of a prestigious academy's director. Without hesitation she invited me to enroll in her school. But my younger siblings immediately interrupted. They called me trash, claiming they were far superior to me, excelling in both academics and athletics. However, Kaya instantly rejected their pleas. She had already done her research before coming. She knew that my siblings had bullied me since childhood, that I had never once been treated like a human being. At that moment Kaya grabbed my hand and drove me straight to Royal Star Academy. It was said that only the elite of the elite could study here. Yet somehow I felt strangely calm. The world I thought I would never belong to had now become my reality. The academy's director personally welcomed me, all because I had saved Kaya. As a token of gratitude the director waived my tuition. As I stood outside the classroom, my insecurities held me back. Everyone inside was an elite. If I walked in wouldn't I just be a rat among lions? Then I remembered my grandfather's words. No matter what, always face things head on. Taking a deep breath I pushed the door open and introduced myself to the class. But everyone just stared at me in shock. Not a single reaction. It felt as if they didn't welcome me. In truth they were all just stunned by how good I looked. After assigning me a seat the teacher left. Even my seatmate avoided looking me in the eye. The study environment here was completely different. Everyone was intensely focused. It was unlike anything I had ever seen. Before I knew it lunchtime arrived. I was about to go grab a meal. But suddenly a crowd surrounded me. They bombarded me with all sorts of unfamiliar questions. Just then a blonde-haired guy stepped in and helped me out. And just like that I made my first real friend. Even the free meals here were ridiculously luxurious. As I was eating, I could feel everyone staring at me. Maybe it was because my uniform was different. But I didn't think much of it. That evening I met with the director again. After some discussion, I decided to officially enroll in the academy. As soon as I stepped outside I ran into Kaya. She had been waiting for me for a long time. She took me to a place I had never been before. We looked just like a couple, sharing our food with each other. To outsiders it probably seemed like we liked each other. That kind of unspoken romance. After finishing my first day at the academy, I prepared to head to the other world again. As my level increased, it was becoming harder to gain experience. So I decided to venture out beyond my usual training grounds. Just then I heard a scream from the forest. Grabbing my spear I rushed toward the sound. I found a human being held captive by goblins. I was shocked. There were humans in this world? As I processed this, a goblin approached me. Without a second thought I kicked it straight to the afterlife. So there really were humans living in this world. Just as I was about to ask the woman some questions, another goblin suddenly ambushed me from behind. This one was several times stronger than me. With no other choice I drew my all sword. A weapon that could cut through anything. With one slash the goblin was instantly annihilated. Just as I turned to ask the woman what had happened, she suddenly collapsed. At that moment I heard footsteps approaching from the forest. Without hesitation I activated my invisibility. It turned out to be a group of royal knights. And the woman I had saved was actually a princess. What's it like being too handsome? The academy director personally welcomed me. After class 1 was surrounded by beautiful girls. And yet just a short while ago, I was just an overweight nobody. All because I accidentally stepped into another world, where I trained for 49 days, and ended up rescuing a princess from goblins. Now the princess wants to marry me. Even the king is eager to meet me and pass down his throne. This overpowered ability was truly absurd. Because Tenjiao had such a broken skill, he outright rejected the princess's proposal. To avoid embarrassing her, he suggested starting as friends and gradually building their relationship. After sending the princess away, he immediately came up with a plan. Study at Royal Star Academy on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. Explore the other world on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays. The atmosphere at the noble school was truly unique. Everyone was full of youthful energy. Each student exuded an undeniable charm. At that moment a long-legged beauty approached him from behind. She asked how he could be so handsome, and even requested to be his girlfriend. Just as Tenjiao was about to reject her again, a soccer ball came flying straight toward her face. With a single kick Tenjiao caught the ball, and shot it straight into the goal. A move that would be impossible for an average person he executed with ease. The crowd was in awe of his skill and charisma. The long-legged beauty blushed and accepted his concern. Just then, a blonde-haired guy rushed over at full speed, dropping to his knees. He swore he would serve Tenjiao in his next life. Of course Tenjiao had no need for such a bizarre follower. After that incident, Tenjiao became the most talked about person in school. Not only was he insanely handsome, but he also possessed incredible strength. Everyone was now wondering what kind of girl he was dating. At that moment both Kaya and his little sister grew anxious. The first person he met at the academy was Kaya. Even though they hadn't made it official, they both had feelings for each other. The next second a group of delinquents stormed the academy gates. Riding motorcycles they surrounded Kaya. The students immediately recognized them. They were none other than the infamous Ghostfire gang. Amidst the crowd Tenjiao spotted his siblings. It turned out that they were the ones who called the gang. All because Kaya had humiliated them earlier. They had held a grudge and now sought revenge. Tenjiao's legs suddenly felt weak. He was actually afraid of his own siblings. Time seemed to distort. Just as the gang was about to attack Kaya, Tenjiao jumped straight from the 4th floor. "How dare you lay a hand on my woman?" He exploded with an incredible burst of speed. But a 25-ton sumo wrestler blocked his path. He took a fighting stance, then charged straight at Tenjiao. Yet with just one hand Tenjiao flipped him over. Everyone was stunned by his overwhelming strength. The next second, the delinquent leader charged at him on a motorcycle. With a simple turn Tenjiao took him down. And just like that the battle was over. Just when it seemed everything was settled, one of the delinquents grabbed Tenjiao's younger brother, and was ready to finish him off. If it weren't for him our Ghostfire gang wouldn't be in this mess. Tenjiao stepped forward, and effortlessly knocked the delinquent down. The delinquent tried to fight back. Just as he was about to go all out, Tenjiao turned and glared at him. With just a look the delinquent collapsed in fear. His younger siblings were left completely dumbfounded. Why does our brother keep saving us, when we've done nothing but bully him? At that moment Tenjiao turned and said, "A true hero stands alone. Being handsome is just another superpower." Even a casual trip to the mall was enough to cause a public frenzy. To onlookers it was like a celebrity had arrived. "What are you doing, little troublemaker?" The next moment, 2 men suddenly appeared behind him. Tenjiao assumed they were just salespeople, until one of them suddenly asked for a hug. Thankfully it was just a hug and not a pickpocket attempt. Faced with these strange fanboys, Tenjiao flat out rejected their request. The 2 men froze in shock. Tenjiao quickly walked away. Little did he know 2.5 years later, those 2 fanboys would finally snap out of it, and start dancing like crazed idols. At that moment Tenjiao ran into a red-haired guy in an elevator. The red-haired guy let out a weird squeal, and started tailing him. His name was Hikaru. He was the CEO of a fashion company. At that moment he was waiting for a model to arrive, but the guy was always late. "It's like he doesn't even respect me anymore." Frustrated Hikaru sent people into the mall to find a replacement. And that's when he spotted Tenjiao casually shopping. The next moment Tenjiao was assigned as a car model by Hikaru. No matter the angle, he looked effortlessly handsome, but he looked a little stiff in the photos. So Hikaru told Xiaoyu to hug Tenjiao. Xiaoyu's scent was oddly intoxicating. It completely overwhelmed Tenjiao. With just a bit of physical contact, he felt like he was ascending to heaven. Luckily they had enough shots, and it gave him a moment to calm down. He never thought he would ever live this kind of life. Not long ago he was just an overweight loser. It was only because he crossed into another world that his body had transformed so drastically. Just as they were about to chat about their future, blonde-haired guy suddenly interrupted them. He was another car model invited by Hikaru. As soon as he appeared the girls went wild. He walked straight up to Xiaoyu, and slammed her against the wall. Tenjiao immediately stepped in and stopped him. "Are you blind? Can't you see she was talking to me?" The blonde guy swung a punch at him, but Tenjiao easily flipped him over with a judo throw. The guy was an 8th degree black belt, yet he was taken down so easily. From Tenjiao's perspective the punch was unbelievably slow. Did he end up breaking the guy's bones? As he was overthinking it, the girls nearby started screaming, "Oppa, you're so hot, I want to have your babies." The blonde guy tried to fight back, but Hikaru walked up to him. "Someone like you isn't welcome here." And with that his contract was terminated. Apparently the blonde guy had been harassing Xiaoyu for a while. Hikaru assured her it wouldn't happen again. Then he made an offer to Tenjiao. "Join my company and I'll give you anything you want." But Tenjiao had access to another world, and had a harem in both dimensions. So he immediately turned the offer down. Before he knew it the day had flown by. He was ready to head back to the other world. After all the princess had been waiting for him. How good was Tenjiao's genetic potential? Not long ago he was just an overweight loser. But everything changed when he stumbled into another world. After coming back he suddenly had an 8-pack. He levels up by defeating monsters in another world. And he gets stronger in the real world too. He's building a harem in both worlds. Every day he meets a new girl. Even a princess wants to marry him. That day he ventured into another world like usual. A sudden scream caught his attention. Who would he rescue this time? Turning around he saw a pig-headed man tormenting a dog. That pig-headed man had a power level of 600,500. Meanwhile Tenjiao was only at 250. The dog was pitiful, but was it worth risking his life? As an animal lover he struggled internally. Hearing the dog's painful cries, he finally stepped forward. If you can't even beat a pig, why are you alive? With one strike he instantly defeated the pig-headed man. That was definitely thanks to his weapon. It was called a spear. A weapon that could pierce anything. What kind of person could have created such a weapon? The injured dog bared its teeth at him. He took out a healing potion and treated its wounds. The dog immediately formed a contract with him. Even as a pup it had a power level of 500. Once it grows up it'll be a true beast king. So he gave it a badass name, Mujin. He took Mujin home with him. Since he'd never raised a dog before, he talked about it at school. The next moment a girl nearly pressed her face against his. He almost lost his first kiss. Turns out she loves animals too. And she really liked his face as well. Since he didn't know where to buy pet supplies, she eagerly offered to take him. After carefully picking gifts for Mujin he headed home. As soon as Mujin saw him it jumped on him. This little pup was seriously adorable. He put a collar on Mujin and took it for a walk. For some reason everyone started staring at him. Even a 70-year-old man sighed. He's even more handsome than I was in my youth. On the walk he ran into Kaide. They both had feelings for each other. Kaide immediately picked up Mujin. This scene was straight out of a rom-com. A handsome guy, a beautiful girl and an adorable dog. What a perfect trio. The next moment Yu called out to him from behind. The scene looked almost too perfect. Yu was a famous car model star. Since he had worked with her before they exchanged some flirty words. Kaide then asked if he was dating Yu. Just as he was about to answer, a sudden scream interrupted them. A robbery, right in front of him. Mujin could handle it easily. No need for him to step in. But the humiliated robber pulled out a knife and lunged at Kaide. Tenjiao grabbed his wrist mid-air and pinned him to the ground. That move was seriously impressive. With the police arriving the situation came to an end. Once again he returned to the other world. For some reason he always ran into goblins, and he could defeat them in one hit. So he ventured deeper into the forest. There he discovered a two-headed magic deer. He used his invisibility skill, but the deer still spotted him. High-level monsters were no joke. Its aura alone could kill him 4 or 5 times over. Just to show off its power. It even got some low-budget CGI effects. Then Tenjiao stabbed it in one hit. What a cute little deer. It dropped a ton of random loot. After a full day of adventuring, he became even more confident and headed toward the forest center. Accidentally he stumbled into a strange cave. There he found an ancient note left by a god. If you had magic, what would you do? He unknowingly entered the cave of a divine being. And thus he inherited the god's legacy. As a human he had no natural affinity for magic. So the god simply handed him an entire magic training manual. Cheat skills were the best. After just a bit of practice he gained water magic. This overpowered plotline was insane. Mujin also learned magic, so they decided to test its power. Man and dog worked together, and blasted a tree straight through. Mujin was ridiculously strong. Coincidentally their teacher had planned a camping trip next week. Now he had the ability to protect everyone. He and Kaide were assigned to the same group, along with a blonde guy and a big-eyed girl. But he didn't have a suitcase. Tenjiao decided to go to the mall for shopping. At this moment Kaide eagerly offered to go along. Tenjiao was really popular. As the daughter of the academy's headmaster, Kaori requested to be in the same group as him for the camping trip. For some reason every time he saw Kaori, he couldn't help but feel delighted. Maybe her different outfits always left a lasting impression. After finishing shopping for supplies, they decided to have fun at an amusement park. At that moment Glasses saw a plushie in a claw machine, and excitedly squealed like a pig. So Tenjiao decided to fulfill his wish. It was his first time using a claw machine and he was visibly nervous. So he decided to use his magic. With that he caught the plushie in one try. A cheat ability is truly amazing, 100% success rate. He won the hearts of all the girls around. A satisfied smile appeared on his face. Little did he know, the claw machine's wiring was damaged. His actions had unknowingly caused a hazard for them all. A circuit failure led to a fire breaking out. At that moment Kaori and the others were trapped upstairs. The firefighters couldn't arrive in time. So Tenjiao dashed upstairs, swearing to himself that he would save them. But a raging wall of fire blocked his path. Without hesitation he activated his water magic. Protective barrier of water surrounded him. Without a second thought he charged into the flames. The heavens favor those with determination. He quickly found Kaori, a beautiful girl amidst roaring flames. What a sight. Just as he prepared to escape, the fire had already engulfed the entire mall. There was no way out. How would he turn things around? The next second, explosions erupted throughout the mall. What the hell is this overpowered guy doing? He literally kicked open an escape route. Damn, even a burrowing rodent wouldn't dare pull this off. No one saw how he managed to escape. Kaori's father treated him as a hero who saved lives. Is this what having a family feels like? It's truly heartwarming. At least I still have Luna with me. This is the luckiest protagonist I've ever seen. Not long ago he was just a chubby kid struggling with meals. All because he accidentally entered another world. When he returned he had become incredibly handsome. His luck with women skyrocketed as well. Kaori in black stockings, the adorable Kaide, and the model like you. Each one of them was top-tier beauty. That day, like usual, he was hunting monsters in another world. The loot he got was absolutely broken. Just as he was about to head back and rest, his dog suddenly dashed into the forest. Sensing danger he immediately activated stealth mode. He saw a girl being surrounded by goblins. Just as he was about to rush in like a hero, his dog stopped him. At that moment a strange smile appeared on his face. The next second, the girl effortlessly cut down a goblin in one strike. But this time the goblins were working in a group. She was overwhelmed and knocked unconscious. Just as the goblins were about to make their move, Tenjiao leapt in and took them down instantly. Little did he know this was just the beginning. A horde of goblins charged at him. He pulled out his legendary whip. Rumor had it that even a slight touch would instantly kill enemies. Holy crap, this was off. With a single strike he wiped them all out. He then picked up the unconscious girl and carried her home. But suddenly she woke up. She broke free from his grasp. Tenjiao quickly handed her a mysterious potion. She recovered instantly. That was kind of a letdown. Even his dog gave a knowing, amused look. The girl's name was Luna. She was on a training journey. Coincidentally, so was he. And so the two of them considered training together. Man, I wish I could reincarnate as Tenjiao.